Greetings, Christ Community Covenant Church and others who happen to tune in to our website and pick up this public service announcement. We're here in the sanctuary. It happens to be an empty sanctuary right now, but come Sunday, we are opening up. Last Sunday, July 12th, was our opening Sunday, grand reopening, I guess, in the middle of this COVID universe circumstance. And we had two large rooms open. We had a wonderful time of service. We were practicing all those smart things like wearing the masks, coming, going, and sitting carefully in our seats. But we had a freeness to us and a lovely enjoyment of the Holy Spirit and the gathering of the saints. And so if you want to be part of that as we continue to move forward, here's a couple things that I want you to keep in mind. First thing I want you to keep in mind is you need to be safe. We've talked about this all along. Have you been washing your hands? You should be washing your hands. You should be mindful of the people in your life that are at risk from this COVID virus, yourself and others that you love. And so if this is not yet your time to come and be a part of our gathering together, then enjoy watching it online. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. You might be thinking, I wonder if it's safe. I'll tell you what, we're trying to do everything that we can. That's the second thing I want to keep in mind. We're trying to do everything we can here to be loving for each other and to do what's right and to try and be really, really safe. And so I think if you come, you'd be consoled that the work that we've done here in the sanctuary and the fellowship room, the precautions that we've made, the policies and things that we've put in place, not so mean-spirited that they would get in your way, but I think that you would find them to be a comfort to you. So we'd love to have you come. Here's a third thought I want you to keep in mind. If you want to come, great. We're asking, especially initially as we open up, that you connect with the church and you RSVP. There's a couple ways that you can do that. Donnie's going to send out an email asking you to do that. Now, we've had some trouble with our emails. We're going to talk about that in a minute too. But coming up soon here in the next day or so, you'll get an email that says, hey, please RSVP and designate, you'll follow the email, but designate whether you'd like to be in the sanctuary or a more family-centered ministry in the fellowship hall. And we'll do what we can to try and satisfy your best desires for that. A little bit first come, first serve. And so if you want to do that, you should probably jump on it and call in. There's a second way besides following that email trail and connecting back with Donnie, and that's by going to the homepage of our website, 4cs.church. If you haven't done, well, it's backwards, right? 4cs.church. If you haven't done that yet, you should do that today, just for grins. There's past sermons, there's all kinds of information and calendar, there's wonderful places where you can go and connect with other people. So 4cs.church. If you scroll just down a little bit, you'll see kind of a burnt orange box. And that box says, what does it say? It says sign up genius. Apparently I'm not a sign up genius. That's what it says, sign up genius. And you can just punch on that and it'll open up and you'll be able to RSVP and select your preferences for this next week's worship service. So all that to say, we're opening up. Various ministries are opening up. Children's ministry is opening up in some level this week. Youth ministry is starting to engage their programming. So lots of safe, meaningful, purposeful worship opportunities happening up in the next little bit. I wanted to say that this Sunday we're going to continue our Exodus series. And if you wanted to get a jump on it, you could go to Exodus chapter 12. We're about a third of the way through Exodus, but this might be the most important chapter in the book of Exodus. There's a lot of great events that happen, but this is the chapter about the 10th plague, the Passover of the angel of death, as he comes over the nation of Egypt and lays claim to the firstborn of every family that does not have the protective factor of the sign of God over their household. So we want to talk about that, especially as it serves to foreshadow the coming of Christ. and his death and resurrection. It's a really, really important study. In fact, I think it helps to crystallize in the mind of every Christian believer the plan of salvation for you and I. So Exodus chapter 12, go ahead and read that, and then do your RSVP and call in and say, hey, you know what, I really want to be a part of that. And so that's great. Now, that makes me think of something else. We are now live streaming our Sunday morning services. And so what that means is at 10:30, which is when our services are right now. We've skipped the 9 o'clock service for now. And so at 10:30, you can join us here in the sanctuary or fellowship hall. You can join us live streaming. And what that means is if you get to our website at 10:27, you can click onto that and go to our live streaming. And in 3 minutes, the program will open up to you, and it's a live experience of our worship service here in the sanctuary. So with all of my mistakes and with the beautiful worship service, with announcements and responsive prayer, all of that experience on Sunday morning, you'll be seeing in a live manner. So from 10:30 to 11:30, roughly, you can experience our live church experience. Now, the great thing about that, if for some reason you can't experience it at 10:30, you've got another appointment or you're doing something else, you got a soccer game, I don't know, and you want to come back and enjoy it later that afternoon or later in the week, all you got to do is go again to our homepage, 4cs.church, and you can find that service online. It'll be archived in our sermons, and you can just punch on that and you'll be ready to go. So, church, live streaming, and I'm grateful for your patience because these are all brand new things that we're learning, a learning curve of what it means to do kind of live TV as well as a worship service. And so your patience and your prayers and your encouragement are greatly desired. And if you see something and you go, wow, this is great, this might be helpful too, we're open to great suggestions. If you want to be super critical, there's another church you can call. So I started to talk about emails a minute ago, and Donnie shared an email with you, and I told you we're having some trouble with emails, and indeed we are. We've changed over to a new server. We're having a little bit of problem with a new software service that we're using called Alexio. It's a database that allows us to text message and email people easily, except that right now it's not very easy for us. We're having some stumbling blocks with it. Here's what I want you to do to take note of. You may be receiving emails and you might not even know it. And that's because your screening device that you're using on your emails may be sensitive enough to push some of our emails into your junk or spam mail. And so I want to just kind of give you a heads up, something for you to look for. You might even be passing over it because you're not sure. But at the end of the 4cs.church address, you'll also see something that says no reply. And what that means is you don't have to reply to this. And it'll have the word Alexio in the language of the address from the email. And so when you open up an email for 4cs.church and it says something about no reply and Alexio, Elexio, that is the software program that we're using to communicate with you. That language may be pushing it into a junk file. So if you want to look at that, that might be helpful. But you will be receiving an email, all church email in the next 24 hours telling you that you need to RSVP, and this is how you do it. We've already talked about that. One last thing. I haven't talked about it since March, I don't think. But in the COVID universe, we don't gather. We haven't been gathering. And one of the things that we've been trusting is that the love of the church and the generosity of the church would continue. We know that during the summertime, our offerings kind of drop off. We actually budget for our offerings to drop off during the summer because so many of us are traveling and doing other things. And I don't know, there's an old saying that says out of sight, out of mind. And so if you haven't been in church for a while, you might forget that church is really important and you really love church and you love giving to church. And so the reality is, you don't know this perhaps because you haven't been in church and we haven't talked about it much, but May and June, our offerings have not been as robust as they have been in the past. And it could be that some of us have just simply forgotten to do what we believe is really, really important, and that is to give in a disciplined and hilarious manner, as Scripture says, to the church that we love. So I'm going to invite you to kind of, I don't know, as the Lord directs you, kind of go back in time, look at May, look at June, take a look moving forward and see whether or not there is something that you can catch up on in your giving and your generosity as we move forward through the summer. That will help us get into the fall programming undistracted, and it'll help us not have to cut back on things as we are just getting the process of opening up. So I invite your prayerful thoughts on that. All right, so we're going to wrap this up. We talked about Exodus chapter 12. We talked about RSVPing for our church service. We talked about being safe and you being the main person over your life to stay safe. We talked about washing your hands. We talked about the fact that we're live streaming and that our emails are a bit wonky right now, but you're going to go ahead and look at the spam and see if it's there, and you're going to remember that the word Alexio means that it's from the church. And finally, we talked a little bit about what it means to be a generous congregation, and you are, and I'm grateful. So I'm Dave Shear, and this public service announcement has found its end. I hope to see you on Sunday. I hope you see me on Sunday. Take care.